Hello, Z here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my archive and also sharing some of the purposes and some of the outcomes that I've been finding with creating my own archive. First, though, I want to share this was a crochet flower I just made for my mother. She's been asking for flowers that she can put up in her house. So this was a new design that I learned just now. I think later on I will be sharing how to make a flower. It's good to learn new things. And for me, crocheting, especially when I crochet something for someone, I think about that person while I'm crocheting it. And so I thought a lot about my mother while I was making this. I also made it from yarn that I found in my archive. So just to go over my archive. An archive is a space where your work and your gifts throughout your life is housed intentionally so that it can provide opportunities for healing, for learning, uses archival for history, sometime in the Reuther, which is an archive created by Walter Reuther, and it was intended to house all of the documents of the labor movements. Walter Reuther led the UAW in the 1930s. And so this is a space that people from all over the world come to learn about organizing, to learn about Detroit. And it is a beautiful space that is intended for our learning and for our growth and for our evolution as a society. Also, the idea of an archive came to me when I went to the African Bead Museum. The African Bead Museum is here in Detroit, where beads from all over the world are housed. And the beads are, some of them are in strings, some of them are in pots. But when I visited this African Bead Museum, I realized this idea of technology and indigenous conceptions of technology, that everything is technology, right? So these beads, though they are art and they are jewelry and they're beautiful, they're also technology. What is a oh my God, abacus, right? That's math. Beads are also storyteller tools, and that's immediately what I was able to do. I took different beads to represent past, present, future, or different stories, and then you can, the beautiful thing about this, and this is also what's important about an archive, is that these beads stand on their own, and they can be reorganized and put back and then taken back out in multiple different ways. And so an archive, when you go to, that has historical documents, is also organized in that way. It is loosely organized. It is not chronological necessarily. It is intended for it to breathe and to live on its own. If it's too organized, who decided what organization system it had to be? If it was alphabetical, what that's Western, right? So these beads and my archive need to live and to breathe. I've tested it once with my father using his artwork that my dad had already done it chronologically. And what that does is if you find new art, you can put it in, right? You can revisit it, you can use it as a storyteller. But in your mind already organizes things chronologically if it's your own memory, if you're doing your own archive, so you don't have to remember the process anyways. And that is kind of the two approaches that I've taken with the creation of my own archive. My archive is filled with notebooks and paper and things that I've collected and held on to. I've always held on to things, to the chagrin of my family members sometimes, but I don't know, there's a part of me that feels everything is not a thing. It has a story and it has a purpose and a tool. So that's the goal of my archive. It's both organizational, so that I have a clearing, so that I can throw some stuff away and actually move on from some things, but also so that I do it from a foundation of knowing more about myself and knowing more about my current surroundings through that. So that's the background for my archive. it was a little long. I'm going to show you now some of my archive. This may be more of a process video as well. So you can see here, I've put all of my notebooks. On one side over here are journals. Those are ones I've written in. And the other side are ones that are more empty and more notes. Here I have some things that I could give away if I wanted to. But I also have in here my Zinn tins. Perhaps in the future I can use them. I don't know. They could be something I throw away, but it's important to me right now to kind of keep them. Here is all of the Cardi bracelets I started collecting, and primarily this summer. Those I intend to do something, or at least maybe even give them to someone to do something with. Here is some piles that have not been organized yet, but let me go through. Here again are papers. It's in the process of being organized, and by organized it's kind of sorted and gathered. Of the other kind of components I'm doing here is my move back to the United States drawer. This is my Vienna. I lived in Vienna in 2018 to 2022. Moved back to the United States in 2022. So things that kind of go in there. Indonesia, South Africa, Hong Kong kind of go in here. And then here is my schooling, college, young adult life, my first kind of teaching, student teaching. So that is the first kind of component. You can see it's pretty messy, but maybe for other people, for me, it's feeling really a relief. You can see all my yarn. Some of it has inspired. Those are just bags that I found. There's some clay, some stuff that could be used for, art stuff. Here is discarded, started projects, but here I can already see I can make something out of the little scraps that I have, kind of like I did with my flower shirt. Oh, over here is like t-shirt cut-ups. I kept them for some reason. I did have a big mess of yarn, and now that big mess that I'm not going to untangle, I'm putting in bags that could maybe be used as the interior or something. Cords. Who would have thought we have so many cords? But doing this in a way allows some freedom as I find new things, as I find new ways to life, so that I can learn again and throw out some of the things. I think these are like business cards. But yes, this is the start of my archive. Over here is also, all this yarn. Some of it is from my grandma. Some of it, this over here is a box of needles for knitting. I don't knit, and I don't intend necessarily to keep all of this. Okay, so that's part one. It's really for me, I think. But in part two, I will show you how to crochet. Maybe not this flower. This one was complicated and bigger. I have some plans or some ideas. Teaching people how to make smaller, maybe not this small, but a little bit bigger flowers, and that it could be used as like, cleaning your nose, or just like a nice little connector. And if everyone kind of learns, I don't know, it's fun to learn something new. Who knows what we can learn and what we can do if it's just the idea. It's given me a lot of joy. So if it's given me joy, the theory is it will give other people the same.